All right, so lately I've been having basically panic attacks about that whole Kappa thing. I'm thinking maybe if I change my name to something just incredibly inappropriate, we can just say I'm not for kids. So we're changing my last name to Jass. I'm going to be Hugh Jass from now on. So now that we've got that out of the way and the FTC can't sue me, let's talk about the 10 big name DC heroes who have actually done nothing wrong. I'm sorry, wow. That was a Freudian slip. The article is actually about DC heroes who have actually done nothing. Now, you're going to find that, in my opinion, CBR has jumped the shark completely with this one, with no bat shark repellent included, and gone from just bad writing to what I would call patently untrue and just edgy. Like, we're really trying to be edgy and just say, oh, all these things that everyone loves, they're garbage. They're complete and utter crap, so that we can get a rise out of people. And well, you know what? I'm covering it. I guess it worked. So with all these stories, please don't contact the author. That is not the point of it. Let's keep the ridicule and just mockery of CBR here on the channel, or over on the Reddit at reddit.com/r/degeneratej, or over on Twitter at twitter.com for degeneratej. So let's get right into this. So we're going to kind of briefly look over all of these characters and the writing about them. So first up, let's just kind of look at the intro here. DC Comics have some of the heaviest hitters in the world of superheroes. Well, that's nice of you to say, thank you. They obviously have Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and, Marvel family. Well, now they're the Shazam family. We would not want to get sued here. Let's be careful. And the Green Lantern Corps, or Corps. People get mad. I call it Corpse. I know, that's a little cringy that I can't stop saying that. So there's definitely a lot here is what he's saying. But what he says is, out of all of them, there are those who, to put it nicely, shouldn't be as heavy as they are. They maintain a presence, even if it's a cameo or one line that makes everyone turn towards them in amazed disgust. Here are 10 big-name DC heroes who have done nothing. Oh boy. So the first one they have is Hawkman. Now, in keeping with what I personally, in my opinion, consider the CBR list tradition of just talking out of your rear end and sort of coming up with whatever version of the character you want to prove your point, I'm going to be doing the same thing. So, I'm going to be jumping back and forth throughout different versions and variations and continuities of these characters to prove my point. So, let's just look at the most recent continuity of Rebirth for Hawkman. Has he been in it a lot? No, he hasn't. But he hasn't done nothing either. He was heavily connected to the Metal storyline, tying into that with everything with Barbados. Even before that, he was involved in things like in the previous continuity, Brightest Day, Blackest Night. There was a lot going on with this character. The Justice Society of America has sort of gone back and forth in terms of relevancy, but it's never just been a nothing burger. It's never just done nothing. This was essentially a character who, in his prime, was saving the world just like the members of the Justice League were. So I think it's pretty silly to say that he's done nothing. They say that he gets a collective huzzah and that the only thing that matters about him is the nth metal. Not really. Oh, and also the whole incarnation deal. So you name like 2 or 3 things here and it's like, but those don't count. Okay. He's like Doctor Who minus the cool spaceship. I don't really see the comparison there, I guess, but alright. I don't know. I mean, there's just nothing here to this one. So next up we have Lobo. This one is really silly to me. Introduced as a parody of gritty characters like Wolverine and Punisher, true. Rode a space motorcycle, threatened people smaller than him. Yeah, he's a douchebag. That's the point of him. Why he eventually got his own series, has been part of the DCAU, and even made an appearance on Live Krypton, blah, blah, blah. In the end, he's just alien muscle, unneeded violence and space swear words teenagers can use. So here, you know what I'm wondering here? I know that the author is better than this because I looked at some of the other stuff they've written, and like they have written important pieces before. They're a freelance author who has done good work. So I'm not sure if this was written on purpose to be edgy, but this whole thing with unneeded violence and space swear words teenagers can use, this sounds like something that like a very prudish, a very prudish, like Bush era, like really, really, really Karen type I guess is the nice way to say it, would be saying. Like, think of the children, this Lobo, he's such a bad influence. DC Comics is not here to babysit your children. Comic books are not for children anymore. That's why if you go to any comic book store worth their salt, there's a couple of sections now. There is normal comics. Guess who they're now geared at? People above the ages of 13. They're teenagers and up. Guess who they're not geared at? Children. So I don't understand why this matters. And on top of that, there's also a children's section. So I don't understand the whole think of the children type argument that's levied here, but whatever. And then also he makes reference to the younger version of Lobo that appeared in the New 52. Yeah, in general, a lot of people didn't like that at first. People went on to sort of enjoy some of that run, but it was weird. They tried to change it, and I mean, that sort of happens when you reboot a character in general. The next one we have is the one that's really obnoxious. Red Hood, or Jason Todd. How did Jason Todd become such a big name mainstay in the DC universe? Didn't his fans kill him off decades ago? He has a steady fan base, but no matter his transformations, fans keep sticking with him. Wow, sorry, I Freudian slipped again. This article was stinking so much that I just couldn't read it right. Probably to keep others from voting on his second death. This reminds me a little bit of like a, like when, what are the film critics, right? They'll write something that they think is like really clever. Like let's take an example of a movie that I like recently, Dr. Sleep. Fantastic horror movie in my opinion. Really good because it appealed back to the continuity of The Shining. A very well-written movie with great acting from people like Ewan McGregor. But they would take some sort of thing from the movie, like the title, and make a pun off of it. I'm not sure if this was one, but you'd see something like, Dr. Sleep, put me to sleep. Like it's like some kind of like really big Shakespearean joke you just made that's just very intelligent, and it's not. That's how I'm seeing a lot of things in this article, like you're just trying to keep people from voting for his second death. Yeah, sure, whatever. Oh, let's see. What has Jason Todd done, by the way? Well, first off, I literally got annoyed by the Lobo one. I just skipped ahead. But Lobo killed his entire race, and he was also banished from heaven and hell. I think that's worth mentioning for him. He hasn't done nothing. Now, moving back to Jason Todd, before I get, triggered again here. Jason Todd was a failed Robin in a lot of ways. Yes, he had anger issues, got himself killed, blamed Batman for it, came back. He had one of the best Batman runs ever in Under the Red Hood written about him. It's considered like one of the best written Batman stories of all time. So I don't think that's nothing. Obviously, that whole story about him coming back to life and coming after Batman. It's a revenge story. It's sort of a murder mystery story. Very interesting, not nothing. He also has gone on to form teams in and of his own right, leading the Outlaws on his own, different versions of that group. On top of that, he's taken out several villains in different continuities, especially in the Arkham continuity. He didn't do nothing. He obviously challenged Batman, was pretty much able to stand toe-to-toe with him. He was also able to later on kill Black Mask, supposedly. So I know I'm jumping all over here in terms of continuities, but CBR does it all the time, I think. So I think that I have leeway to do that. As far as doing nothing with Jason Todd, it's just laughable, but whatever. And there is a reason the character has stuck around so long. It's because people like him. People like the Red Hood. They like the dark reflection of what Batman could become or could be if he allowed himself to kill or if he was angry enough. Jason Todd is that. And yet he's also the prodigal son who Bruce Wayne still loves. There's a lot of connections there, a lot of interesting storytelling, and to just sort of undercut it by saying, like, people voted for him to die is very disingenuous and silly. So what's our next one? Oh my, Barbara Gordon. Well, let's see if they bring up the Killing Joke in here. I mean, that's all anyone talks about. Oh, look at that. It's only when the Joker shot her in the Killing Joke that people examined her in a different light. So is that why this is bad? I mean, like, a storyline happened that made people look at a character a specific way? You're right, that doesn't happen with every other character. They felt bad that she was paralyzed. and brought out of the hero game. Now she's returned to the Batgirl mantle, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't Oracle, blah, blah, blah. Technical support for Batman. I don't know. I don't know if this whole thing is supposed to be a joke because they talk about him forgetting the Bat computer password, which is silly and stupid. Maybe it would be a better joke, I guess, if it was told by, somebody else. But in a different piece, I really don't want to rag on the author of this too hard, because this is just a continual pattern, I think, of these lists. But it's very silly. Yes, the Killing Joke caused people to re-examine Batgirl and Barbara Gordon and look at her in different ways, but she's managed several superhero teams throughout her entire continuity, or multiple continuity run. She's been a very important Batman character. Obviously, she was used to explore the depravity of the Joker in the Killing Joke. I don't think that's nothing in and of itself. She's also been attributed to, even though I try not to get super political or woke or anti-woke in any of the stuff that I talk about, just because I think it can be obnoxious, she has been seen as a very good role model for multiple types of people. Obviously the fact that she was paralyzed and still able to do her job sort of sends a message in the DC Comics run that pretty much anybody can be a hero in and of their own right in different ways. I think that's something worth saying. So I don't really know why you'd say she's done nothing. That seems, again, very disingenuous. And on top of that, she also was able to overcome paralysis, which you can talk about the ridiculousness of or not, but considering modern medical technologies are moving that way, I don't really think it is anymore. This character has been around forever. Recently, she was established quite a few years ago in Burnside, sort of doing her own thing there and running a pretty interesting storyline throughout the New 52. I don't know. This whole thing is, again, silly to me. We've got Booster Gold here. In that era known as back in the day, the 1980s. Booster Gold was blah, 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 post-crisis, blah, blah, blah. Joined that era of the Justice League, blah, blah, blah. DC has tried to make him more essential to timelines with different crises. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where Booster Gold comes off unimportant. You are right about that, but I don't think it's all the time. And one exact example I can think of with that is actually the continuity of Smallville, which I think really does count. Because, well, again, CBR lists jump continuities all the time, or just don't specify which one they're talking about. But also because Smallville has comic books in general. Obviously, Booster Gold was used to sort of teach important moral lessons in the Smallville show, along with teaching Clark Kent that he was more than he thought he was, and Clark Kent taught Booster Gold that anybody could be a hero. He then went on to actually be one. It was a redemption arc, sort of this idea that vain people don't have to stay that way. That basically when you are looking for something like fame or glory, sometimes letting it go is what causes it to come to you and causes your life to improve greatly. You also see that again in the DCAU Justice League Unlimited arc that he's a part of. So, you're right though, he did nothing. He's never done a thing. Oh wow, now we're getting nuts here. Robin, pick one. They all suck. Robin, Red Robin, We Are Robin. The list goes on. Regardless of the incarnation, he's not that wonderful. He doesn't have cool gadgets. You're right, he doesn't have any cool gadgets. No batarangs. Birdarangs. No cape or glider. He doesn't have a bow staff. He's never used any gadgets ever. You're right. Nor does he have a cool vehicle. Okay, sure, a vehicle is what makes a character cool now. Furthermore, they don't have the emotionally unattached attitude that the men and women find alluring. So, have you met Dick Grayson or Jason Todd? Have you read their stuff? I mean, they both have a pretty emotionally unattached attitude, and wow, so does Damian Wayne. Tim Drake is the only one who usually doesn't. He's usually a little more emotional. Jason Todd, I guess you could say, is emotional in the way that he's pissed off all the time, and that's about it. I don't think this description really fits any of them, but sure, I mean, I'm assuming we just read the first 10 words on a Wikipedia article now. Still, these yellow-caped teens seem to go blah, blah, blah. Even when Batman says he's fine without one, obviously he's saying that they keep popping up. Perhaps Tim Drake's recent transformation from Robin to Drake, confused with the Canadian superstar, blah, blah, well, clarity, sidekick. Okay, so he's making the argument that none of these Batman characters have ever done anything in, I guess, ever. Dick Grayson inherited the mantle of Batman and carried it on with Damian Wayne still being Robin, protecting Gotham City that whole time. Red Hood has been a protector of multiple cities over the course of his runs, along with sort of, I guess, exposing some of the hypocrisy of Batman's code, while also sort of proving that there was some to himself, and running multiple superhero teams, again, that did stand on their own and actually helped defend the Earth multiple times. Tim Drake is one of the greatest detectives in the world. The man solved Bruce Wayne's identity originally. That's how he became Robin. And obviously then there's Damian. Damian's my least favorite Robin, but I would be so disingenuous to say he's done nothing ever. Very silly. He's been a crucial part of the League of Assassins, obviously, in the past, or the League of Shadows, whatever you want to call them, depending on the continuity. He obviously also has stood by Batman's side through some of the more trying periods of the New 52 and of Rebirth, and helped save his life as well. And even back in the day before the New 52, died for Gotham City. The boy didn't do nothing. I guess we're also just not mentioning any of the others, but since I am mentioning the others though, and I actually know who I would say most of the Robins are, because there have been a lot, and I don't know off the top of my head if I could list all of them without looking things up, and I'm trying not to do that. But you also have characters like Carrie Kelly, the Robin of the Dark Knight Returns universe. Obviously, the Frank Miller verse, Batman Year One, Dark Knight Returns, All-Star Batman and Robin. She wasn't alive yet there, or in Year One. The Dark Knight Strikes Again, the Master Race, a character who saved Batman's life at least once, I would argue more, later went on to become Batwoman. I mean, there's a lot to her, but you're right, she's done nothing. Helped save the world from the Kryptonian invasion of Kandor, but done nothing. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Just another Robin I wanted to throw out there. Oh boy, next we have Green Arrow. Ooh, he's so worthless. He's done nothing. Haha. How did this character get his own show, let alone a universe, the Arrowverse, named after him? Well, let's see. Maybe it's because he's interesting, because he's sort of a Batman stand-in in that universe, because he's a character who shows that anybody with enough skill in the DC universe can make a difference. I'm just a couple of ideas there. In addition, there were plenty of moments that people wondered how his archery skills could help big-time heroes like Superman, blah, blah, blah. Fans kept with him. Perhaps it was the liberal attitude he developed during the early 70s. Trust me, dude, look at the political climate in the world right now. Pretty sure it's not the liberal attitude that he developed during the early 70s that carried him through several generations. I will say the fact that he had an ongoing relationship with Black Canary, that's interesting. I mean, it's not the core of the character, but him and Dinah, their whole thing is an interesting part of the character. But the goatee is not at all. I mean, this is obviously a joke here, but that's sort of the problem with this list. I don't think they're really joking. I don't know that. If this whole thing is sarcasm, it's not written like it. It's not written well. It'll be like parts of it are like very serious and then other parts are very sarcastic. So fine. Next up, we're looking at Mr. Terrific. I'm sort of just breezing through these now because they're just silly. Mr. Terrific has not done nothing. He's probably one of my least favorite DC heroes for me. But I think it's very silly to just say that the only thing that he's been able to do is control T-spheres. If you look at something like the DC animated universe with the Justice League, he was able to help coordinate the League's efforts on Earth pretty effortlessly. The man's a genius. He's made multiple scientific breakthroughs in universe. He hasn't done nothing. The T-spheres are not what makes him important. You can argue the worst thing about Mr. Terrific is he can't really sell a standalone series. That's about it. But then again, you know, welcome to 2019. Who can sell a standalone series other than Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman? They all get canceled because there's arbitrary sales numbers that need to be met. Otherwise, they just get cut. So, whatever. His argument's not even really worth mentioning. It's just the T-Spheres thing. Oh, boy. Now we've got the Atom, Ray Palmer. There's a few different continuities I can think of where Ray Palmer has done a lot. Obviously, the Arrowverse he's done quite a bit in and contributed to quite a big story. I don't want to say too much about the Arrowverse because people are still watching it and I'm not as big of a fan, and if I say anything it'll either be not completely true or it will be a big spoiler. But essentially he has contributed to a lot of main storylines in the Arrowverse, tying different things together. In the Millerverse, he obviously helped stop the Kandorian invasion in the Dark Knight Master Race. Then you have pretty much everything he's done in the New 52 and Rebirth. So I don't understand how you can say he's done nothing. Has he been an underutilized character at times? Sure. I think he has potential to be a much more interesting character than, say, Marvel's Mr. Fantastic. But whereas Marvel sometimes seems to just blatantly just overuse Mr. Fantastic, it seems like DC sometimes underuses the Atom. But to say he's done nothing is silly again. And let's look at number 1. Who could this be? Oh, Aquaman. Haha, Aquaman's dumb. Aquaman's useless. He's stupid. Sure, people have read his adventures since the early 1940s. In addition, he gained popularity due to his portrayal by Jason Momoa. Sure, Jason Momoa is a hunk. I don't think he created Aquaman, but whatever. So he basically says that there's no reason that Aquaman should be popular. He's never done anything. Look, I don't want to run through everything, but Aquaman has been a key member of the Justice League forever. In the DC animated universe, he's helped save the world more than once. In the New 52 Rebirth universe, he's helped save the world more than once with the League. To say that he's done nothing is very silly, and if you really want to see how powerful he is, look at something like Flashpoint Paradox, where you can see his full power unleashed, or at the very least, you know what? If you really want to go this way and just say he's done nothing, look at the DCEU. I mean, Aquaman single-handedly kind of pulled it back from a brink of bad sales, relatively, with things like Justice League, so he's done that at least. The Aquaman joke about Aquaman's worthless and he sucks is overdone and silly. Do I personally love Aquaman? No. No, I don't. I don't really even enjoy a lot of this character's storylines that I've read. I don't think he's that interesting personally. But I'm not going to sit here and rag on the character and say he's done nothing because I don't love him. That's where I have a bit of a problem with this article, and where I find it very disingenuous is because everything comes off as, I don't like this thing. Why do people like this thing? This thing is dumb. Instead of like, hey, you know, do you remember like, I don't know, do you remember this character from this run? He didn't really do anything there. He was just sort of put there. There's no specifics to this. And it's really sad that me, just some dumb YouTuber, kid, well, I guess I'm not a kid, I'm an adult now, but I keep thinking that. Just some dummy who is sitting in his room on a gaming chair can come up with more ideas as far as concrete examples for why these characters matter than the article can for why they don't. I think that's very silly, pretty transparent, and it's very obvious that this was written to be like an edgy hot take that sort of brought in clicks like, oh man, these characters suck. And it's like, I don't even really believe that you believe that because you didn't provide any evidence for any of them that they do. But regardless, I'm hoping you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you have any hot takes? What are your opinions on different characters? Do you think all these characters suck? What's your opinion on the article? Again, please don't contact the author. I don't want a hate mob going after this person. I just want to make fun of the work because it's bad. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Are there any DC Comics characters that you think are just stupid and underused, or I guess have done nothing ever and just keep showing up? I'm interested to see who those are. Let me know what you're thinking. Please like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more content, and I'll be seeing you in the next one where I hopefully have more breath and don't have to breathe like Darth Vader every 10 seconds. Good night.